Hello, everybody. Welcome to another speedrun episode with the White Pieces against Spicy Thunder Games, rated 1512, who opens up with a Fianchetto structure, putting pressure on our pawn in the center. I'm just going to develop a minor piece and protect it. You could do a number of moves in that situation. I'm sure whatever you were thinking is probably fine there. Black puts a pawn one step forward, which doesn't help the bishop. Opens the queen, it plays for the knight. That's fine. I'm just going to develop a minor piece, protect the center. Black prepares to Fianchetto the other bishop as well, which is fine. I'm going to develop my queen and hint at long castling, potentially putting a bishop here. He Fianchettos, targets the pawn in the center. You could do a number of things, but I'm just going to do the very simple and standard f3, which fully supports the center of the pawn, blunting the bishop, as well as supports a pawn storm should he castle on this side. So he moves the knight, which undefends the h6 pawn square, in case we want to throw in this trade before or after he castles. For the time being, I'm just going to increase my development and the power of my position by long castling. Now he castles. Bishop h6 makes a lot of sense now that he's castled. Black develops a knight, puts some minor piece pressure on the center, so the queen is not an adequate defender. I mean, you have a number of options here, but the simplest one would probably just be to trade, because you want to do that anyway at some point. If you can delay it, you will delay it, but here it removes an attacker and just clearly removes the threat. And then you can follow up with the move you want, h4, h5, from there. So I think h4 is on the agenda, just double checking. Yeah, let's use this pawn as a hook and roll our pawn up the board to unleash our rook. Another move that's useful is king b1. So Spicy Thunder Games goes f5, attacking our center, but weakening the light squares in front of his king. A bit weird. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't go h5. He probably should have gone h5 instead of f5 to stop us. Because once we're allowed to do this, especially now he's weakened g6 by moving the f pawn, it makes it even better, kinda. So he takes our pawn in the center, thinking that maybe we're just going to recapture it. But the whole point of this h4, h5 maneuver is to trade off the pawn so that your queen and your rook can coordinate on the h-file. So I'm going to ignore him and take this pawn. He takes back. So right now black is up a pawn, but we have the queen infiltration. Check. Which is the point of the whole h-pawn. So now that we got this in, is it guaranteed to just collapse immediately? Because we take h7, right? So checkmate, checkmate. He's probably just going to go one to the left. And then we pick up everything. And Spicy Thunder Games, he goes out with a bang. So let's take the pawn with check. Let's take the knight with check. So we got our pawn back. We're up a knight. He's in check. If he moves the rook, our rook comes in with check. If he moves the king, I mean, we can still bring it in with check. Do we have better? Check. Here, we need more pieces. Let's bring in the rook. He can't block without head hanging. So he'll probably run forward, which looks ridiculous. So he's kind of stuck, right? So this check forces him forward, and there has to be a mate there, such as c4. It's defended by the bishop. That's checkmate. So it's a forced mating sequence, kind of, from queen h6 check. So now you can see how strong and effective this whole setup and operation is. Pawn checkmate, middle of the board, move 18 against the 1500. That's pretty cool stuff. You don't often get to do this to your opponent, but it's very satisfying when you do. You didn't even need your king side minor pieces, right? It was just the heavy pieces on down the h file and some pawns. It's just a funny setup. So e4, the best move on move number one. And then he gives us the center, so we take it, right? As I mentioned in previous videos, now if he ever tries to challenge the center at some point, we have the option of pushing past. That's the downside of being late to the center, is your opponent has the opportunity to just push past and gain the space. So development and center, development and center, development, king safety. And even here, the engine says it's plus 1.2. So positionally, it says white's going to win a pawn one day. That's how strong his position is. We play f3. It's a very common move in these setups against the perk, sometimes the modern, depending, where you just launch these pawns. You create this, exactly what I'm doing. You put the bishop here, you launch the pawn, you create the hook, and you do what I did in the game. So it's an easy go-to plan against these Fianchetto setups. When there's g6, nice hook. So that's what we do. Okay. And then king safety, center, development. And then he castles, right? And it's plus 2.1. So already just terrible for black. He's almost down a piece. Okay, 2 pawns. And now we commence our operation. We take this just to remove the threat. We play h4 plus 2.7, completely winning position. But if you look at it, you may think, I don't understand. The material's fine. His king looks relatively safe. He's got pieces. You don't have anything but like pawns. Your pieces are at home. How is this winning? But it's winning because of g4 and h5 is kind of unstoppable. And once that happens, his king gets opened up, and my rook's there, the queen's there, and his knight's not even on f6. We have the center. So, I mean, black has nothing in the position. He doesn't have the bishop pair, he has nothing. And then he makes it worse with this pawn move, weakening the light squares. The whole point is to open up the h file for the rook, plus 3.2. Once he takes, plus 5, game over. Forced mate in 8, which we find the faster one because he goes to the wrong square. And there you go. Perfect game. 10 cent pawn, 97%. Nice and easy game against weird Fianchetto setups. Now you know. Create the battery. Run the H pawn. Simple, easy as pie. Goodbye.